In this video, we will provide a brief overview of the prior record factor legal restraint. Detailed instructions for scoring the legal restraint factor on the sentencing guidelines worksheet begins on page 37 of the general instructions section of your manual. Most worksheets include the factor legally restrained at the time of the instant offense. Points are assigned for being legally restrained at the time of the offense if during the commission of any offense in the sentencing event, the defendant had an obligation to a court, or during the commission of any offense in the sentencing event, the defendant violated a restriction placed on them by the court or an administrative body. There are three types of legal restraints. The first type, Post-Incarceration Supervision, is scored if the defendant has supervision after a period of incarceration. This would include post-release supervision, parole, and supervised probation following a period of incarceration. The second type of legal restraint is parole, post-release supervised probation, or CCCA. Points are assigned here if at the time of any offense in the sentencing event, the defendant was on parole, post-release supervision, supervised probation, or local probation under the Comprehensive Community Corrections Act. What is not scored for this type of legal restraint is pretrial supervision. Pretrial supervision is actually scored under the third type of legal restraint, and that is other. Points are assigned for other under the legal restraint factor if the defendant had an obligation to a court at the time of the current offense. For example, if they were on unsupervised probation or good behavior, bond, incarcerated, or had an outstanding warrant, whether the defendant was aware of the warrant or not. They would also be assigned points for being other for legally restrained if during the commission of any offense at sentencing, the defendant violated restrictions that were imposed by the court or an administrative body. For example, if possessing a firearm by a convicted felon is part of the sentencing event, the defendant will always pick up points for being legally restrained because they were not supposed to have a firearm due to being a felon. The same goes for habitual offender. If habitual offender is part of the sentencing event, the defendant will always pick up points for being legally restrained because they violated a restriction imposed on them by an administrative body, and that was that they could not drive. What we do not score as legal restraint are financial obligations unless the defendant was on probation or good behavior until that obligation was satisfied. We also do not score illegal immigrants as being legally restrained. Today's question, legal restraint is scored for which offense at conviction? For the answer, text restraint to 56512. If you have any questions about the legal restraint factor or any other factors on the sentencing guidelines, feel free to call or text us, and staff at the Commission will be happy to assist you.